and welcome to Capital Spotlight. I'm Margie O'Brien. We're joined by Representative Moira Walsh, a new freshman this year. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was a hard campaign, but I'm really glad it's over and I can get to work.
So the campaign, was it harder than you thought it would be when you started?
Work-wise, not necessarily. I'm a waitress, which is a lot of manual labor, a lot of on your feet, 6 to 10 hours a day. It was the poker face. It being 2016, I assumed that, we were a little further along. So it was things like hearing that women can't run for office because who's going to watch my child?
How did you answer those kind of questions without just saying, really?
Waitressing really did help me with that because you learn to hear really appalling things and just smile and exactly. So I would always say that my husband would tell me not to, but I don't have a husband, so it's not a problem. And then that kind of put the kibosh on that line of questioning.
So it is interesting to maybe some people that all state representatives aren't lawyers, tax attorneys, CPAs, that kind of thing. But it's what makes up the House that is beneficial to the people of Rhode Island, that everyone comes from different walks of life.
Exactly, and that was very much the reason that I ran. I didn't feel like there were a lot of people up here who looked like me or had the struggles that my neighbors and I have every single day, not just in terms of estate taxes and things like that, but for us it's just in terms of the day-to-day feeding your children, being able to provide child care, which costs $10 to $15 an hour when your job only pays you minimum wage, and the constant struggle of having more bills than you can keep up with. And so I wanted to come to represent that portion of the population because we don't seem to be represented up here in a lot of ways.
So you're working during the campaign, day to day, knocking on different doors. What were some of the common things you heard that you hope can change this session?
So one of the biggest issues in my neighborhood in particular was the elderly and disabled bus passes via the RIDE program. It's something that's really stressful to people. They're really worried about it. A lot of these people are on fixed income, and so they don't know what they're going to do. And hearing those stories was really devastating to know that there was nothing that I could in that moment do to help them unless I won. Additionally, legalizing marijuana, which is something that in my district is very popular. Marijuana puts a lot of prohibitions on your ability to get a job if you have a previous record in terms of possession or distribution, which relegates a lot of really good people to service industry jobs where they don't do background checks. And I think that legalizing would really create an opportunity for an entire sector of the population to be able to find work again in new, exciting environments. Not to mention the low-skill, low-education jobs that it's going to create. I'm all for high-tech jobs, but not everybody who's unemployed has a master's degree in engineering. So
it could be a real game changer.
Yeah, especially for Rhode Island. States are the laboratories of democracy, and we're such a small state that even if it went terribly wrong, it would go on such a small scale.
That is definitely one way to look at it. So your first thoughts, we had orientation already, you've had a couple of weeks of session. Your first thoughts on how it's going and maybe different than you had originally anticipated?
Certainly overwhelmed, mostly focusing right now on trying to look like I know what I'm doing, and so far I've got people convinced, so that's top notch. In terms of expectations, I really didn't know what to expect. So it wasn't anything that this is different than I thought it would be. This was coming in, with a fresh slate and no real concept of how things were going to go. I am very grateful of how welcoming my colleagues have been. Really, mostly all you hear about politics is how cutthroat and horrible it is. But everybody's been very nice to me, and so far, there hasn't been any real issue. I think for me, a lot of it is learning how to be patient. Because I very much thought that I was going to come here and kick down walls and, punch the patriarchy in the face, and you actually have to sit and process and and be part of the solution as opposed to just shouting out problems, because anybody can do that.
And you learn patience and compromise.
Exactly. Compromise, I'm already pretty good at. I have a toddler, as you know, so compromise, I can work with a hostage negotiation system at this point.
So I'm curious, you have titles of mother, waitress, state representative. Which order do you put them in?
I think probably in exactly that order. Mother, waitress, state representative seems about right. Waitressing started out as what I thought would be just, money making to get me through college, and has turned into my main form of income for, the better half of a decade. And I absolutely would not have been capable of campaigning, let alone winning that campaign, if I didn't have the skills that profession gave me. Sure. The diplomacy and the long hours and, hard work. That was something that me and my coworkers were already accustomed to, so it was a lot easier to get into the rhythm.
Right. Representative Moira Walsh, one of our new freshmen, we look forward to watching you get to work this year.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
And this was another Capitol Spotlight. I'm Margie O'Brien. Have a great day.